what is the message that you'd like to people to know?
I mean, the message is, it's very cliche. I mean, it's going to be cliche, but it's, if you get up, if you fall down, I mean, you got to get up. You got to fight. When I had that incident where I wanted to take my life, and it was that split second, when I did it, I regretted it because I have two beautiful kids. I have a 14-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old son.
Hello, we are here today with another Above the Bar interview. It's been a while since we've done one, but this is very inspirational on our end, is having a 1999 graduate from Rico High School join us, Mr. Daniel Nevarez. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Daniel?
Okay, well, my name is Daniel Nevarez. I graduated from Rico High School in 1999, and I went up to Phoenix. I went to Phoenix College. I did all my prerequisites over there, and then I went to U of A in 2001. Had a pretty shaky semester, so I went back to Phoenix College. I got my grades where they had to be, and then I went to ASU, and I graduated from ASU with a degree in English in 2005. From there, I actually worked instead. I never taught. That was a whole plan for me to teach, but I ended up working for a janitorial supply company for a year, and then I was a general manager and part owner of a Taco Del Mar. And then after that, I was gonna teach right when I got married in 2007, and I had an interview with Thunderbird High School, and then my sister gave me a call, and she's like, "Hey, I want you to work with me." She had her own janitorial company, so I did that for 6 years, and then I decided to do my own thing, and I was always been very passionate with movies. It all started in high school. Chris Peters, Mr. Peters, he's actually one of my real closest friends. He got me into movies when I was in high school, and I always wanted to be a screenwriter at one point and direct and do that. I got accepted to go to film school in 2002, but because I didn't have the money and stuff like that, my parents were like, "You're 2 years away from graduating," so I didn't pursue that. So in 2013, I decided to work for Harkins, and I did that for 8 years until I started having issues with my vision.
I want to go back. So I saw a lot of in doing some research for this interview. I talked to Coach Shadler. Obviously, you were a cross country runner and track runner back in high school at Rio Rico High School. It showed me some photos of you running and things like that. So part of our interview process, we talk a little bit about, obviously what you're doing now and things like that. But I would like to go back to high school and think back of that time.
I remember. I remember that like yesterday.
Yeah. How did that prepare you for, what you're doing now?
Well, I never thought that I was going to run again. I mean, I started running. So I played baseball. I played Little League, Little League baseball from the time I was 5 years old. I was I never was a good baseball player, but I played all Little League. I tried out when I was a freshman with Coach Fanning. I didn't make the team, but I was the manager, and I got to play one game. And I remember getting a base hit and having an RBI single. And then I went 1 for 2 at my baseball career. But I also wrestled. I was really good at wrestling when I was in junior high. Started wrestling 6th, 7th, and 8th grade with Mr. Brewington. And my freshman year, I was so into wrestling, but I never liked going to the gym. So I never, gained that muscle. So I lost probably 13 matches my freshman year. So, and I never got pinned. They used to call me I remember kids calling me the worm because I used to lose. I never got pinned that year, but I lost points and default. But I loved wrestling. Wrestling was just something. So I decided for endurance. I said, you know what? I'm going to join cross country my sophomore year. And it just started. It started my sophomore year, and we were, the first varsity team to qualify for state. We went to state. I was a varsity runner, so I was the top, in the top 7. So it was always, I was in between. I ran well, as the best I could, and I just loved it. I ran cross country, and then I did track and field. I also played chess, with Mr. Ramirez. I played chess in junior high. When seventh grade, I remember with Mr. Keller, we went to state, and I won like 2.5 matches, stuff like that. This was back when I was at Calabasas. So I was always involved. My dad had this thing where he's like, you're going to be busy. You're either going to work, which I don't want you to work, or you're going to be involved in sports. So I was a kid that was always doing stuff,
Yeah. So all of those things that you were doing, participating in wrestling, cross country, track, chess, you had a lot of good mentors,
Yeah, I had a lot of great mentors. I mean, Mr. Shadler was, I still talk to him now, and he's giving me, feedback and giving me good pointers with, I stopped running when I was 25, just life came and I stopped running, and I had time now, and I started running with another group with Achilles, the organization Achilles International, which helps people with the disabilities. But other than that, so I actually, I found him and I started texting him, and I was like, hey, I'm running again. And he knew through, I had told him what was going on. And, he's just been one of my big mentors. Mr. Fanning was a huge mentor of mine growing up. We used to always have these side bets it was like a fun bets when we were kids. Like, hey, Mr. Fanning, I'll bet you a Coke. We never paid him off, but it was like, I'll bet you a Coke that the Braves will win the World Series. We're talking, I was like 92. So if I get you in trouble, Mr. Fanning, I'm sorry. But we always did that stuff. And it's funny that Mr. Fanning actually recognized me. I think it was about 3 years ago. I was a senior manager at Harkins at one of the locations, and he asked me if I was Daniel Nevarez from Rico, and I was like, yeah. And we started talking, and we talk once in a while, through message and through Messenger. So I've had a relationship with him, as you can say, just something like that. So yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's great about our community and our school district, and why we like to do these interviews is because we obviously like to see what people are doing now, and how the lessons they learned in high school in our community, to have that support and help you through things. So and one of the reasons we're interviewing today, obviously, it's obviously unfortunate you have some issues with your eyesight, but also an inspiration of that you're, like we say in our community, that we don't want to have any excuses, that you can do whatever you want and live a full life no matter what's thrown at you. And I know you've had some struggles with your eyesight and pulled you back a little bit, but it seems like from the people I've talked to, now you're moving forward and doing some incredible things. So why don't you share a little bit about your struggles a little bit, and then how you've moved forward now with what you're doing, and what you're doing.
In 2019, I woke up one day and my wife was literally melting. It was June of 2019, and I was like, something's wrong. And we called my retinal specialist, and I had just seen him 6 weeks back. Just everything was good. And I have because what I have is called myopic degeneration. It's a deterioration of the retina. So I have severe astigmatism. So I have a lot of abnormal blood vessels in the back. And what happened was they just ruptured. So I had all that blood in my central vision. So that's what I was seeing. And so I had to get, I get Lucentis shots. I get these shots that help dissipate the blood. So I get those every 3 to 6 months. So I did that for like 6 straight months. And I lost right off the bat. I was like 20/400. I lost a lot of my vision. I was told I was legally blind completely, and I couldn't drive. So I stopped driving June of 2019, but work was still there. My passion for movies, I had gone up. I started from the bottom at Harkins, as a 32-year-old with a degree. They made me start as cleaning auditoriums, and I became an assistant manager within 11 months. And I got to a level 4. I put in my senior letter. I became a senior. I was one of the fastest for the company to become a senior at 4 years. And I was on my way to become a GM and have my own theater. And I was doing the rounds. I'd been in 3 different theaters in a year, which is good, because I went from a small theater to a large theater. And then the unfortunate event of me starting to lose my vision sort of, got everyone scared, but I was still working. And at the same time, my doctor was like, "You're legally blind, so you can get the benefits from the state." So I got some help. I went to a vocational rehabilitation program. My wife actually works for the Foundation for Blind Children, so that was a big plus of what everything that's happened, because she's just been my support and she's been there for me. So she knew sort of like, what was going on, because she's been working there for 15 years. She's also a cancer survivor. She had retinoblastoma. She was 2, so she had her left eye removed. She was 2 years old. So we never thought in a million years that I was going to be the one that was suffering through the vision loss. But, I was working hard and doing my thing, but it wasn't until I had my 3rd retinal detachment in my left eye, and then I had more bleeds, that I had to go on short-term disability in 2020. And then when I was going to go back, I actually got a call from the insurance, and they were like, "We did this report and we did this investigation, and you're not deemed to work anymore at what you do." And that sort of just that was a big blow, because I was learning, Braille, and I was learning assistive technology with Fusion and JAWS, and how I know how to use a computer with just keys, and I use my phone with VoiceOver. So I was confused, because I was in a program telling me, "We're helping you to keep your job or to get a job," and then we had someone tell me, and it wasn't my job, it wasn't my work, it was this insurance saying, you can no longer do what you've been doing for 9 years. And I was just I was shocked. So me being home for 10 hours a day, my head just started playing games with me. I got depressed. I got anxiety. Unfortunately, I'm going to be honest with you, I tried to commit suicide last year. But my family was there. I went to a behavioral facility where I was diagnosed with having little bipolar 2, and I'm in. I see a psychologist, and things just started getting better. But while I was doing that, when I was in the program at the Foundation for Blind Children, they sorry, I have a cat here. They asked you, like, what do you like to do? I was like, well, I used to run. And they're like, well, we have this program. There's this organization in Phoenix called Achilles International, and it was founded by a gentleman who had, I think he was amputated legs in New York, and there's 38 chapters and all over the world. And they were like, you should run. And I was like, okay, like, how do you do that? Well, there's volunteers, and they'll tether you, and you can just run. So one of my friends who was he was a teacher at the Foundation for Blind Children, I started running with him just little by little. And, I hadn't ran in 14 years, so I struggled running 3 miles. And then we sort of like, I had my first race in April of 2021. And that's where I met my current guide, Brian Fisher. And we ran a 5K, and I ran it in 23 minutes. So it was like a 7:45 mile average. And everybody was like, hey, you're good. You should continue doing this. But my depression and my anxiety was still playing games. And that's, I was starting to run. And then in November, I had that little incident. So when I got back, my cousin who lives in Nogales, or he's from Nogales, he was like, you need to, he started coming and visiting me and taking me out and just say, hey, you need to find something. And I was like, you know what? Maybe the running is going to be that thing. So I started taking running seriously, like really seriously last year in November. And I did a 15K. I did the hot chocolate 15K, and I ran with another guide, Todd, and we ran the 15K in 73 minutes and 25 seconds. So it was like a 7:40 average. So the bus started, and they were like, hey, Daniel, they're like, you should consider doing New York. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, you got to qualify. And it's like, well, you're a part of Achilles, so it's easier to qualify. And so I thought about it. I did another race. I did the pancake double stack, where you ran a 10K and then you take a 10-minute break and then you run a 5K. So I did that, and we did really well. Again, running under 8 minutes a mile. So that's when really the Achilles, we meet once a month, and a big group. There's a bunch of us guides and a bunch of athletes with all different types of disabilities and visual impairments. So we they sort of twisted my arm, like, you need to consider New York. And I saw Brian. I had not seen Brian for a year since we last run. I said, hey, would you want to train with me? And he said, yeah. So we started training in May. I didn't think really like I'm going to go to New York, and I was like, look, I have a fixed income now. I can't afford New York. It's impossible. So when I got in, I decided to, all right, I'll put in my name in the hat. I got picked. I got a call that I got accepted. I was like, all right, it'll be like, it was like $295 to get in. So my mom helped me pay that. And we just started training. We started training for the marathon. I started training officially May 15th of this year. And we've been going at it. My family was like, you should start a GoFundMe just to see what you get. And I was like, I don't know. It's like, you need to swallow your pride. So I decided to do it. And I've gotten such great response. A week into it, I got a call from the Arizona Republic, and I got a call from 3 TV and Channel 5, and they're doing interviews with me, and I'm doing a sit-down interview, and they're going to show all that in October. So I'm just blessed with everything that's going on. The running has really helped me with my anxiety, with my depression. It's still there, but when I go run, it just goes away. It goes away, and it's really helped me. It's helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you for sharing that, because I think, one of the things that sometimes there's a stigma with people that are afraid to share those type of things, knowing that we all have struggles.
Yeah, and for me, it's also been hard because my eyes look perfectly normal, but so I used to get a lot of people like when I was working, I don't think you're blind. And when you're going through the program, you learn so much about a visual impairment. Like I was in this class and there was 40 of us and nobody was completely blind. That's one thing I always say. Hollywood, puts a stigma of like you have your eyes need to be white, or you have to wear sunglasses, or you have to be completely blind. There are so many different types of visual impairments. I learned that 1% of the world's visually impaired, and 1% of that 1% is completely blind. So, for me, unfortunately, I will be losing my vision completely. I see shadows, so I know you're there. I can see something moving, but I can't see the details. So I see shadows and shapes, and I can see anything that's close to me about like my nose. So being at home, I still use my phone and I just put it up really close. But I've learned to cook. I've learned to clean. I'm actually cleaning the house right now. I've done all that stuff that they taught me in this program so that people like me, can continue to live a normal life. Yeah.
And I think that's again the message, and one of the reasons we wanted to do this interview, and being part of our community, and that we always talk about, once a hawk, always a hawk kind of thing. And
that's what Shadow was telling me. So he's like, and then for me, I'm just happy. I was the second ever graduating class. I was the class of 1999. There was 99 students that graduated in my class, and I've heard, I have friends that teach at Rico and stuff like that. Now, people that were, and they're like, there's like 1,500 kids in this. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, that's a lot. So it's grown in 23 years. It's amazing. It's awesome.
So the goal, obviously, you're going to be running in New York. When is that coming up?
So New York is November 6th. So, we got all that ready to go. We fly the 3rd. I'm run the 6th. I recently ran a half marathon a month ago with my guide. We went to San Diego just to test, the crowds, and we did really well. I ran the half in an hour and 56 minutes. So we were humming, we were going, those first 5 miles were all downhill, and we were averaging a 7:42 mile pace. And then the final 3 miles, you go up Bankers Hill, which was like Balboa Park, if you've ever been in that area. Yeah. And it's a 3 mile hike. So we were like in the 9:30s, the 9:45s, last 3 miles, but we broke under 2. And my whole goal with New York is, I want to finish it. Like I want to run it, but I want to run it with a purpose. Like I am training hard with my guide. He has been wonderful. He picks me up 6 days a week, and we run Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And we go to the gym and do leg work and weights on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So we just finished our longest run Saturday. We did 17 miles. We're doing 16 this week. We're going to do 20 in 2 weeks. But my goal is not just to say that I ran New York, but I want to run under 4 hours. You know,
so under 4.
Under 4. And I've heard if you run under 4, you're a pretty above the average runner. So that's my goal. And I think it's you know, I was a natural runner. I was never the best. You know, in track, I ran a 5:18. That was my fastest mile, an 11-minute 2 mile. But I was always, you know, in the middle. I was always in the hunt.
Always competing. And so
I was always competing.
And I think that's the great message, is that no matter what.
And my goal is if I do well in New York, I'd like to qualify for the 2024 Boston Marathon, because that's the icing on top, and see where this goes, you know.
Yeah, well, that's
great.
It's
taken off.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
You know, and I just want to share my story. One of the things that my cousin told me was, you know, you're going to be talking to all these people, and it's, like it or not, you're going to be responsible to share your story, and you know, there's going to be more people out there, not just with a disability, but just having a bad day, and sharing your story is going to help them. So, you know, I've accepted everything that's going on. You know, I use a white cane. I got approved of a guide dog, so I'm getting a guide dog in about 4 months. So It's just a new, different life perspective. You know, I still have my ups and downs, but honestly, my family, my extended family in Nogales and Rico, because we come from a large family. I always like to say my dad had 17 brothers and sisters, and we're a huge family, you know, extended family of cousins. So I've got a lot of love and support, and I found my passion for running. Again.
Well, that's great. That's great. So kind of ending our conversation, what you know, you just kind of explained a little bit, but what is the message that you'd like people to know? I mean,
the message is, you know, it's very cliche. I mean, it's going to be cliche, but it's, you know, if you get up, if you fall down, I mean, you got to get up. You got to fight. You know, when I had that incident where I wanted to take my life, and it was that split second, you know, when I did it, I regretted it, because I have 2 beautiful kids. I have a 14-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old son. My wife has been, you know, my rock. I've been married to her for 15 years now. You know, we've been together through the ups, the downs, the crazies. You know, we support each other, and you have to find something, you know, even if it's a family or playing piano or running or sewing, and you just got to go with it, because it might save you, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and you know, again, we call this our above the bar, and we definitely think you're above the bar. So you're not just average. So you're above the bar, and we wish you luck.
I really appreciate you know, Mr. Fanning, Mr. Shadler, you know, Shannon. I just met her a couple weeks ago. Yourself, for being, you know, for having me here, you know, and for the support.
Well, we know you're going to do great, and anything that we can do to continue to support you, we appreciate it, and we look forward to you moving back. That'd be great. So
yeah, that's something that I look forward to doing, and you know, who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, good luck in New York, and we'll definitely keep track, and we'll post your results, so we'll follow you and make sure that we post all the results and show how you're doing. So again, thank you again for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Verdugo. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello, Daniel. Just wanted to let you know that I'm sorry that you did not make the team as a freshman, but you always had heart, my friend. And that heart is what's going to see you through. And to top it all off, I'm going to bet you a soda that you will run this marathon in under 4 hours. And I will expect payment this year. Good luck, my friend, and always nice to see you. Once a hawk, always a hawk.
Hello, Danny. I just want to remind you of one quick story. Hopefully you'll remember this. When you were in high school, we had a monsoon the day before, and the washout here was running along Peck Canyon, and you tried to wade across the wash. I think it was only up to your ankles, but somehow you fell in a hole and you got completely submerged. You stood up, covered, drenched from head to toe in water. But you were laughing your head off. The moral of that story is that when life knocks you down, you always find a way to get back up. I know this will be no different for you. I know you're gonna have a great experience in the New York Marathon. I know you're gonna hit your goal because, like I said, you just don't ever give up, which you pretty much personify. Once a hawk, always a hawk. Good luck.
conversation. What you just kind of explained a little bit, but what is the message that you'd like to people to know?
I mean, the message is, it's very cliche. I mean, it's going to be cliche, but it's, if you get up, if you fall down, I mean, you got to get up. You got to fight. When I had that incident where I wanted to take my life, and it was that split second, when I did it, I regretted it because I have two beautiful kids. I have a 14-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old son.